Every day, this man trained his body under tens of thousands of tons of hydraulic pressure, doing deep squats, lifting nearly 1,000 tons of steel to strengthen every muscle, and holding his breath 10,000 meters under the sea to improve his heart and lungs, using 2,000-degree molten slag barrels for full-body resistance training, and swallowing hundreds of chemical agents to alter his cellular structure, eventually creating what could only be called an invincible body. And that man was Wuma of the 12 Zodiac warriors. So just how insane was Wuma's defense? When facing the standing ceiling beast Chonu, Yugji was killed instantly in a single blow, yet Wuma fought him for over 100 rounds, not only making his entire body nearly impenetrable, but even managing to retreat from the battle unharmed, causing even Chonu to praise him in awe. Wuma smashed through the wall and escaped. He only had minor injuries, but Chonu was a genius, known for wiping out every trace of his enemies, and with such a terrifying reputation, Wuma couldn't help but be deeply afraid. In the Great Zodiac Death Match, each warrior had ingested the deadly beast pill. Within 12 hours, a victor must emerge, or else they would be devoured from the inside out by poison. To increase his chances of survival, Wuma decided to hide first. Soon, he found the perfect place, a secret vault in the heavily fortified security department. Wuma stacked safes in front of himself and curled up in a corner, trying to stay quiet. His mind wandered back to the past, to a battle years ago when he and his teammates were ambushed. Enemies swarmed from all sides, and within seconds, Wuma was the only one left standing. Thankfully, due to his immense strength, he managed to wipe out most of them. But when he faced a monstrous brute, all his techniques were useless. This was absolute power. With one brutal punch, the giant sent Wuma flying off a cliff. From that day on, Wuma understood clearly that only by becoming truly powerful could he survive. No trick or technique could replace raw strength. And so he began his journey, training endlessly for years until he became the man he was now. But now, with the poison gradually invading his body, he started to panic. Even though he had swallowed countless medicines and developed some resistance, he was still terrified of dying from the poison. Just as fear overwhelmed him, suddenly someone appeared nearby. It was Zishu, who was also hiding from danger. Wuma was stunned. When did this guy sneak in? He hadn't noticed at all. Zishu casually played with his phone and said he was just seeking emergency shelter because Sishi had been relentlessly hunting him. Now that Shenho had also been killed by the other Zodiacs, any peace plan was meaningless. Wuma felt even more anxious. Shenho was known for his overwhelming power, yet he still died. Before Wuma could regain his calm, Zishu suddenly said that Sichi was already dead. Wuma didn't understand what that meant, and then Zishu asked about Wei Yang's whereabouts. Wuma replied he didn't know. Time kept ticking, and Zishu eventually picked up his game console and left. But before leaving, he warned Wuma that Sishi might find this place at any moment, and another battle would break out. The giant vault grew eerily silent, and Wuma's heart raced. His mind was full of questions. What did Zishu mean by Chi-Chi is dead? What would happen next? Would someone find him? His thoughts spiraled out of control. Suddenly, the air grew hotter, followed by a burning smell. The vault was on fire. Die! Impossible! If the 12 Zodiac warriors held a battle to the death, who would emerge victorious? Where would your sign rank? The Zodiac death match occurs every 12 years, always a brutal slaughter. The rules are simple. Before the match, each warrior swallows a beast pill containing deadly poison. They can only live for 12 hours. Within that time, whoever collects 12 beast pills will be the winner. The winner gets one wish, any wish that can be granted. But even before the match officially began, Zodiac Sishi had already been killed. Baotu held a blood-soaked blade and claimed innocence, but everyone saw through the poor acting. As a member of a powerful noble family, Haiju was full of confidence. Years ago, just to win a spot in the Zodiac match, he even sacrificed his own sister. Their father had chosen his weak sister as the contestant, wasting all of Haiju's efforts. He couldn't understand, and he couldn't accept it. To reclaim the spot, he decided to destroy his sister mentally. He claimed her crush in front of her, making sure she saw it. When they captured prisoners, he made her personally torture them, whether by beating them into a pulp or cutting off their heads. Day by day, she developed a split personality, losing all empathy for life. She not only murdered her classmates, but also became addicted to the thrill of killing. Eventually, one day, her mind completely collapsed, and she stabbed herself to death with a knife. Haiju then easily took her place in the Zodiac match. Regarding this year's match, Shenho had suggested they all act out a scenario and let the winner use their wish to bring everyone back to life. A perfect ending in his eyes. Haiju thought it was laughable. He had no respect for such an idea. But then some warriors raised their hands to agree. Zishu, Chonu, Wuma, Yugji, Maotu. While others remained silent, a sudden killing aura filled the room. The entire hall began to shake violently. The floor cracked like a spider web. Piercing explosions rang out. Had someone attacked? Before Haiju could even react, the hall had already collapsed into ruins, and through the smoky haze, a figure emerged. A figure slowly walked over from not far away. It was Maotu, holding two sharp blades in both hands, and a fierce battle was about to begin. Facing such a top-tier opponent, Haiju believed that besides himself and Chonu, no one else else stood a chance to win. In fact, even before the fight started, he had already planned out his victory strategy. First, he'd gain the upper hand using 2 machine guns, then create distance to keep Mao Tu at bay, deliberately reveal a gap while reloading to lure Mao Tu into a trap, and finally, finish the fight with unlimited firepower. But Haiju never expected that before any of this could happen, the battle would end in an instant. Necromancy, the power to control corpses, was Mao Tu's unique skill. Fate is cruel. 12 years of effort, sacrificing his own sister's life only to die so easily in the end. Mao Tu raised his hand and reached into Haiju's body, directly pulling out his beast pill and adding another puppet to his collection. Among the 12 Zodiacs, the poison-fanged Zhu Gu was terrifying. Not only could he bite through any metal, he could also freely synthesize venom and release it, even create an enhancement serum that would instantly push a person's physical and mental state to the limit. No one ever left alive from between his jaws. But ironically, this monster met his match in the cunning strategist Yugji. After the Zodiac War broke out, 2 of the Zodiacs, Cixi and Haiju, were already killed by Mao Tu, while the rest quietly hid, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In the dark sewers, Zishu and Shenho decided to form an alliance. Regarding the recent explosion, Zishu correctly guessed that Shenho was the one behind it. When someone on the battlefield had admitted killing intent during talks of peace, Shenho created that explosion to stop a potential tragedy. Meanwhile, in a hidden parking lot, Shugo decided to hide out for a while. Though the poison only allowed 12 hours of life, no one knew that he had already created an antidote inside his body. Now he didn't have to worry about time, just survive and he'd win. While secretly celebrating, he suddenly heard movement nearby. It was Yugji entering the parking lot. Shugo immediately became alert, but Yugji looked innocent and claimed he came seeking an alliance. Seeing Yugji's harmless appearance, Shugo decided this would make things easier. Once they successfully teamed up, Shugo was thrilled with his decision. Yugji was a perfect support-type ally. Not only could he communicate spiritually with birds, he could also share their vision to track enemies. That meant Shugo could stay updated with every part of the game just by being near Yugji. Over time, they shared their intel. Within the Zodiac group, Cho Neo was a ruthless powerhouse who wiped out everything in every fight, earning the title of Genius Exterminator. Chenglong and Cixi were known as the Judgment Brothers, almost unbeatable when teamed up, but Cixi had already been killed by Mao Tu. Shenho was a pacifist who always wanted battles to end peacefully, but his true strength remained unknown. Haiju was also incredibly strong, but had died due to carelessness at the hands of Mao Tu. After analyzing all this, Shugu decided their first target should be Mao Tu. He had the most beast pills and now controlled both Haiju and Cixi. However, Yugji mentioned that Mao Tu and Cixi had disappeared from view, and only Haiju could be seen. Hearing this, Shugo instantly sensed a trap. Haiju was likely bait, and once any Zodiac launched an attack, Mao Tu and Cixi would strike from the shadows. Realizing this, Shugu had an idea and suddenly bit Yugji. Yugji froze, and Shugo smirked, explaining that he had just injected an enhancement serum that would temporarily boost Yugji's abilities. Now, they just needed to probe Haiju to draw out Mao Tu and Cixi. But Shugo never expected what came next. Yugji revealed his true nature. He was actually the most powerful mage among the Zodiacs, capable of commanding birds for long-range attacks and tracking enemies through shared vision, even killing silently from thousands of miles away. Yet behind such strength lay a tragic past. Since he could remember, he had lived in a tiny apartment in a rundown complex, surrounded by shattered glass and bloodstains, with crows watching cold corpses through the windows. After 15 years of abuse from his parents, his suppressed rage exploded. He grabbed a knife and ended everything. But due to brain damage, he lost all memory of those 15 years. Not long after, Yugji was adopted by a clan named Ting. During observation, the Ting family discovered his special abilities, not just bird control, but also vision sharing, which made him a highly valuable asset in their war-torn world. Yugji soon became the adopted daughter of the Ting clan and displayed incredible power in every battle. Whether it was a fortified fortress or a hidden corner, she would use birds to scout and then drop bombs to flatten everything. When facing tough enemies, she acted as a spy, infiltrating groups with her innocent appearance that easily fooled people. But Yugji wasn't always passive. When she wanted something, she would take it no matter the cost, friend or foe. As betrayal and deception grew, her mind became increasingly chaotic, and even allies weren't spared. These experiences shaped the Yugji of the Zodiac War, and even Shugu, her supposed ally, was not safe from her backstabbing. After retrieving the beast pill from Shugo's body, she ran into the puppet Haiju. She immediately used her special move, Bird Burial. Flocks of crows filled the sky and swarmed Haiju. Even though he had machine guns, he couldn't match their numbers. Within seconds, he was consumed by the birds, his body entirely devoured. After finishing Haiju, Yugji planned to go to a supermarket to replenish her energy, but she unexpectedly ran into Zishu. He claimed he didn't want to fight and invited her to the sewers. Then, Shenho also appeared, and along the way, Yugji had countless thoughts about when to strike while the two let their guard down. He intended to strike down both both Zishu and Shenho in one blow, but no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't bring himself to do it. Later, during a conversation with Shenho, Yugji realized the man was genuinely kind-hearted. He had always thought Shenho's earlier peace proposal was just a farce, an act to appear noble, but now he was stunned to discover that Shenho was truly sincere. Something inside Yugji was suddenly moved, but still, he couldn't bring himself to end things peacefully, so he left the sewers and chose to fight on his own. Along the way, he noticed that he had changed. The old him would have never hesitated. Maybe it was because of being bitten by Shugu. As he kept thinking over it all, suddenly he ran straight into Chonu, the Zodiac warrior hailed as the genius of extermination, with combat skills ranked at the very top among the Zodiacs. In that moment, Yugji hesitated again. His instincts screamed at him to run, but with the effect of Shugo's enhancement serum, he convinced himself he could fight. And when Chonu mentioned that he intended to hunt down Shenho, Yuji's fighting spirit burned even brighter. In the end, he chose to fight Chonu head-on, but was pierced through the head by Chonu's sword. Yet another Zodiac warrior had fallen. From the start of the Zodiac deathmatch until now, 4 warriors had already perished: Sishi, Haiju, Shugu, and Yugji. Shenho was undoubtedly the strongest among them all, having learned divine arts under the tutelage of 3 immortal masters, gaining a terrifying power that allowed him to control all things. With just a thought, he could kill everyone in the arena. Yet this invincible man insisted on a life of peace, which eventually led to a tragic and regrettable outcome. After receiving guidance from the 3 immortals, Shenho could shatter boulders with mere palm strikes, and his strength became immeasurable. Still, he remained humble and never resorted to violence, always striving to make meaningless slaughter disappear from the world. This had been his lifelong wish. Years later, through tireless effort, he became a mediator, specialized in maintaining peace and preventing war. In just a few short years, he had resolved hundreds of wars and internal conflicts, but peace didn't last long. During a war between 2 nations, Shenho tried to intervene, hoping to mediate. However, neither side was willing to compromise, so he resorted to small tricks, causing rebellion within both armies to slow reinforcements, forcing a ceasefire. At first, it worked perfectly. The war stopped, and countless refugees finally saw hope. But just a month later, a message arrived. All the rebelling soldiers had been slaughtered, and the war resumed. Upon hearing this, Shenho felt both angry and helpless. Everything he had done was in vain. Still, despite the blow to his heart, he never gave up. To fulfill his dream of peace, he even chose to postpone his own wedding, devoting himself fully to ending conflict. Year after year, day after day, and now, even in the Zodiac deathmatch, Shenho still aimed to end things peacefully. But in the dark sewer, Zishu's views differed. In this world, there was no absolute fairness. No matter what you do, someone must be sacrificed. 4 warriors had already died. How could you save the rest? Besides, the whole point of the Zodiac match was to wipe them out completely. While the 2 were having this heartfelt discussion, a surge of killing intent suddenly appeared. Mao Tu had arrived. Shenho immediately rushed to the surface. His battle style was clear: subdue the enemy without harming them and persuade them to stop. But Mao Tu wasn't interested in nonsense. He raised his blade and leapt, attacking mercilessly. Shenho dodged while continuing to talk, trying to reason with him. The fight quickly turned into a deadlock. Mao Tu, the strange necromancer, could control all things related to death: flocks of crows in the sky, flaming corpses like snakes. He gave his enemies no room to breathe. Yet Shenho's power was immense, and as the battle escalated, Mao Tu suddenly stopped. Shenho thought he had finally persuaded him and became even more determined. When Mao Tu let down his guard for a moment, Shenho kicked the weapon from his hand. Against someone like Mao Tu, Shenho believed there was no real threat. Realizing the situation had changed, Mao Tu turned and fled. Shenho immediately gave chase. This was the best moment to subdue him, but what happened next left him stunned. Shenho was pierced straight through the body. It turned out Mao Tu had been using Sishi's vision to detect the danger behind him. The once dominant Shenho, powerful in divine arts, lost due to carelessness. Among the Zodiac warriors, Wei Yang was perhaps the most underestimated. Though he looked small and had a head full of white hair, he had a brilliant mind and incredible strategies. He was the champion of the 9th Zodiac deathmatch and had mastered the art of explosives. In that tournament, he used bombs to dominate the entire arena and take first place. Even in this year's match, he nearly wiped out everyone with the same strategy, if not for being discovered by Shenho at the last second. Wei Yang had once been an arms dealer who made his living in war zones. Growing up amidst endless battles, he was clever and extremely cautious. When dealing with pirate buyers or sellers, he'd plant explosives in advance, ensuring his own safety, and then sell the pirates to local governments, always making a profit. Thanks to his cautious methods, his business thrived. But aside from his sharp mind, Wei Yang was also an exceptional fighter. On countless war-torn battlefields, he secured victory after victory. Even when surrounded by enemies, he always escaped unharmed and managed to profit. As his reputation grew, one day a business partner took a liking to him, and he soon married into the wealthy Shao family, living an entirely different life. In the 9th Zodiac death match, he participated as a contestant and used his wits and explosives to win the championship. championship. When granted a wish, he chose to spend his days beside his beloved granddaughter, dedicating himself to a peaceful, happy life. But as the girl grew older, fate once again took a turn. During a casual gaming match, she teased him about being too old and useless, and so to prove his strength, Wei Yang decided to participate in the Zodiac death match once again, this very tournament. Before the match began, every contestant was required to swallow a beast pill filled with poison, but Wei Yang, always one step ahead, cleverly disguised himself using his beard and slipped past the referee's inspection. Recently, he had noticed that Chonu had started targeting him, so he created a lot of fake scenes to confuse him and even pre-installed a large number of bombs. Regarding the combat abilities of the 12 Zodiacs, Wei Yang had already ranked them in advance. The top 3 were Shenho, Chonu, and Maotu. Facing them directly would mean instant death, so his only chance of winning was to make them fight each other until only one was left. 4th was Haiju, the previous champion. 5th and 6th were Wuma and Shugo, who had battlefield advantages. 7th and 8th were Chunglong and Cixi, the twin brothers with exceptional synergy. 9th was Yugji, whose abilities were unknown. Wei Yang placed himself at 10th. 11th and 12th were Zishu and Yinhu. Zishu looked sickly and fragile, while Yinhu seemed like a barely qualified weakling. After analyzing all this, Wei Yang came up with a solid plan. First, eliminate Zishu and Yinhu, then invent a fake ability that could remove the poison stone and use it to negotiate with Chonu. Once all other Zodiacs were dead, he would then unveil his ultimate weapon, a grenade he had spent years perfecting, and use it to catch Chonu off guard. With the plan ready, Wei Yang set off, but by chance, he soon ran into Yinhu, who was slumped on a chair reeking of alcohol, looking like a total drunk. The only thing that surprised Wei Yang was that even though nothing seemed to be moving, Yinhu still noticed his presence. Hoping to end it quickly, Wei Yang immediately declared war, but was instantly killed by Yinhu in one strike. A lifetime of caution couldn't save him from this one miscalculation. Yinhu's strength far surpassed his expectations. In fact, Yinhu belonged to the most invincible duo of the 12 Zodiacs. One wielded an ice gun and could fly freely. The other had a fire gun and was an expert in ground sensing. Their synergy was unmatched. Together, there was no enemy they couldn't kill. Unfortunately, the moment they appeared, Maotu tore them apart, turning these once powerful brothers into mere pawns. They were the Judgment Brothers, Chunglong and Cixi. In every past tournament, Chung and Si fought as a team, backed by the Jitian family, who controlled both their clans. They were nominated as this year's best candidates. Their greatest passion in life was wealth. As long as they could earn money, nothing else mattered. Be it being hired to kill or stealing knives on their own, they even had private competitions to see who could steal the most valuable items. Chunglong was the commander, while Cixi led the charge. With unique abilities and perfect coordination, they completed mission after mission. But good fortune didn't last. Entering the tournament with full confidence, they encountered Maotu in an empty hall. Maotu claimed he just wanted to make friends and even offered them 2 glasses of juice. Seeing his clueless expression, they thought he was mentally slow. Just as Chunglong was deciding whether to fight, Cixi noticed something odd on the ground. Someone was moving in the shadows. That one moment of distraction cost him the match. Maotu killed him on the spot. Chunglong was left alone. He wanted to avenge his brother immediately, but more contestants arrived, forcing him to put revenge on hold. At that point, Chunglong no longer cared about winning. His only motivation was vengeance. He remembered that years ago, they were almost imprisoned for a deal involving a private hospital that recruited orphans under the guise of a welfare program to run drug trials. Eventually, the kids were sold in human trafficking. When a gang discovered this, their boss started demanding hush money. To sever ties with the gang, the hospital contacted Chunglong, while the gang sought out Cixi. When the brothers met, they realized they were both being used. They joined forces and wiped out everyone, becoming the true victors of the trade. However, during the fight, they accidentally burned down the operating theater, harming innocent people and getting sued. When it was Chunglong's turn to defend himself, the Jitian family presented a complete dossier. Not only that, they also revealed that the brothers had helped blind children during the mission. They had always done good deeds, but public opinion couldn't be swayed. Thanks to the evidence provided by their family, they walked free. Back in the Zodiac match, when Wei Yang was instantly killed by Yinhu, Chunglong finally saw his chance for revenge. Yinhu ran into the puppet version of Cixi on the street. Using his extreme speed, he sliced off one of Cixi's arms and drained the fuel from his back. Then Chonu appeared and severed the other arm. Just as the two were about to fight, something unexpected happened. Cixi's 2 severed arms flew back and wrapped tightly around their necks. Maotu's corpse-controlling powers were terrifying. He could unleash the full potential of any body part. At that moment, high up in the sky, Chunglong's lips curled into a smile. This was the perfect time to strike. But just as he dove down from above, a severed head flew past him. It was his brother Cixi. Before Chunglong could react, danger struck. Maotu sliced him in half. He never expected such brutality, and just like that, the Judgment Brothers were eliminated from the tournament. Only a few few members of the Zodiac remained. As for Yinhu, how strong was he? He once fought 100 black belt champions at once and left them all helpless. He even instantly killed Wei Yang, the 9th tournament's champion, with a single strike. His terrifying one-fist technique left enemies trembling in fear. Though he looked harmless and innocent on the outside, inside he carried a power that shocked the world. Yinhu was born into the legendary martial family Liang, which had 5 martial arts branches and a long-standing tradition of selecting its next heir through brutal 100-man battles. He had once crushed all competitors with overwhelming strength to become the chosen heir. According to family tradition, the chosen one had to prove themselves on a real battlefield as the final test. Yinhu was full of confidence, but the moment he stepped onto the battlefield, he was struck by the horrifying reality of war. Watching soldiers die one by one, the collapsed ruins soaked in blood, it was nothing but humans slaughtering each other. He couldn't understand the point of it all. Though he earned countless merits by defeating enemies, his hands were stained with the blood of the innocent. One drunken night, he stumbled into a bar and drank himself into oblivion, forgetting all the pain for a while. Disoriented, he collapsed face down on the street, and in that fleeting moment, an idea flashed in his mind. This crawling position somehow felt suited for battle. From then on, in every fight, Yinhu would move on all fours like a beast, tearing his enemies apart in an instant, then gulping down a jug of liquor to forget the sorrow and confusion. But his madness didn't last long. One day, his family found out about his reckless drunken behavior, which went against the martial way, and the very next day, he was kicked out of the clan, left homeless overnight. With his life in shambles, Yinhu continued numbing himself with alcohol and hunted enemies alone in every war, becoming a ruthless killing machine who could barely walk straight or remember anything. All that remained was his lightning-fast hunting speed. But during the darkest time of his life, a fateful encounter changed everything. On a freezing, snowy night, he was fighting enemies when a voice rang out. Chonu, the battlefield executioner, appeared, cutting down enemies left and right. He thought Yinhu was just a girl who had been force-fed alcohol by soldiers, so he stepped in without hesitation. Yinhu was stunned by his strength and couldn't help but ask how Chonu stayed so resolute, without hesitation or guilt. Chonu replied earnestly, and Yinhu pondered his words again and again. On a snowy white bridge, lying on Chonu's back felt especially warm. When he was dropped off at a rescue center and they were about to part ways, Yinhu didn't want to say goodbye. He asked if they would ever meet again, but Chonu laughed bitterly and said, "Someone like him, a killer who leaves no survivors, should never be seen again." After that, Yinhu's life slowly returned to the right path. Whenever he faced doubt or hardship, he remembered Chonu's words. First decide, then act. Years passed. Just when Yinhu thought he'd never meet Chonu again, he heard about the upcoming Zodiac deathmatch, where every Zodiac warrior, including Chonu, would participate. He returned to his clan, knelt before the elder, and begged for forgiveness. After much effort, he earned a spot in the match. But the painful truth was that when he saw Chonu again, the man had no memory of him. On the battlefield, Yinhu and Chonu were both caught in a deadly grip by a severed arm. In a critical moment, Chonu threw his sword forward, striking against metal to create sparks. The flames caused Yinhu's entangled arm to lose control. After being rescued, Yinhu tossed his clothes to Chonu, and the two worked together to escape danger. But just as they caught their breath, the puppet forms of Chenglong and Shi appeared. Facing the powerful Judgment Brothers, Chonu quietly told Yinhu that Chenglong's weapon used liquid hydrogen that could spray freezing fluids. Using that would turn the tide. Yinhu realized this, and together they shattered the brothers. But danger still lingered. Old Tu was watching from the shadows. Yinhu had already sensed it, and soon another battle erupted. Old Tu was hacked into pieces by the two of them, and then it came down to the final showdown between them. As former allies with a brief but powerful bond, Yinhu's heart ached. Just as he hesitated about whether to fight, an unexpected event occurred. He took a fatal blow meant for Chonu. Old Tu's dismembered body was still moving freely, a terrifying ability of necromancers, to control every body part independently. Chonu immediately carried Yinhu on his back and ran frantically into the distance. It was just like that snowy night years ago, but this time the roles were reversed. Chonu was the one saving Yinhu. Fate had come full circle. Yinhu wasn't just saving Chonu, he was answering for all those lost years. Beneath a large tree, Chonu wanted to go find medicine, but time was already running out. In his final moments, Yinhu begged Chonu to end his life with his own hands so he wouldn't become a puppet under Old Tu's control. Dying in the light of the one he once admired would bring him peace.